Welcome to the No Ordinary Cloth podcast, where we explore innovations bubbling away at the intersection of textiles, emerging technology, sustainability, and craft. I'm your host, Millie Tharakin, a textile researcher and innovator. I'm bringing this episode to you in partnership with Fashion District London, a dynamic hub for fashion innovation in East London, supporting startups with innovation networks, affordable spaces, business guidance, and investment opportunities. An exciting news, Fashion District Festival is starting 3rd of June, running all the way till 8th June 2025 here in London, Spitalfields. It's a vibrant celebration of sustainable and circular fashion, packed with pop-up stores, workshops by experts, an immersive fashion show, and a showcase of innovations from trailblazing designers and brands. There is something here for everyone, so bring your friends and family to the event as well. It's the perfect place to make, learn, shop, and be inspired. Now, for our episode, I'm thrilled to be joined today by two remarkable guests whose work is at the forefront of tackling one of fashion's most pressing challenges: textile waste. This conversation is urgent and essential for everyone who wears clothes, which, and let's face it, is all of us. Globally, we produce an astonishing amount of textile waste each year, much of which ends up in landfills or is shipped to countries like Ghana, where it overwhelms local communities and ecosystems. The impact is especially severe in the global south, where the burden of waste is often shouldered by those least responsible for creating it. But today's guests are turning this challenge into an opportunity. Through innovative business models that prioritize sustainability and social impact over profit, they're showing us how fashion can be a force for good. With us is Yayra Agbofah, founder of The Revival, a community-led organization in Ghana that transforms discarded clothing into upcycled products while empowering local workers and fostering environmental justice. We're also joined by Annabel Hought, also known as Annie, the visionary and founder of Round Retail, a charitable fashion resale concept in the UK that creates vibrant retail experiences, circulating pre-loved fashion and supporting charities through community-driven initiatives. She's also the co-founder of Circular, a secondhand fashion search engine that compiles thousands of items from top pre-loved websites into a single platform, making it really easy and effortless for you to shop consciously across a wide range of stores and marketplaces. Annie and Yayra are collaborating at the Fashion District Festival in London, and I would highly recommend that you drop in and check out Round Retail and what they're doing there. This was a particularly moving and difficult episode for me because we have so far talked about all these exciting innovations bubbling up in textiles, but the much harder conversation is to face up to the outrageous mountains of textile waste that we have created because of overconsumption and the impact that this waste has on the planet and people. I realize that the question that we should be asking ourselves is not, is this dress sustainably made? This is an important question, but the harder question, and I think the more important question that we should be asking is, do we really need one more dress? This is a slightly heavy episode, but one that also gives us hope about a future where we are respectful and responsible consumers who not only care about where our clothes come from, but also care about what happens to it when we no longer need it. So let's go meet our wonderful guests who are doing incredible work in this area. Hi, Annie and Yayra. Thank you so much for joining us today to discuss the critical and urgent topic of textile waste. I'm particularly excited because this episode highlights the power and impact of collaboration between the global North and South. So let's dive in and learn more. So let's get started, Annie. Tell us about your organization, Round Retail, what you do, and your core mission with Round Retail, and how you approach the challenge of textile waste through your business.
So I founded Round Retail in 2023 to bring a kind of alternative to the high street that I couldn't find. I had changed a lot as a consumer, and what I really wanted to do was shop secondhand. I found shopping online to be quite overwhelming. Same with in-store, or I felt there was a big gap between the charity shops on the high street or the super luxury resale stores with designer handbags going for thousands of pounds. So I had an idea to have a store that would sit in between those and kind of bridge that gap. We sell on behalf of individuals, and what we do is we split the sales 3 ways. So it's really a store with kind of community at the heart and with purpose at the heart. So we give a third back to the person who gave the clothes, a third we keep, and a third goes to supporting a cause that's relevant to wherever we might be. So for the Fashion District Festival, we're going to be supporting the revival.
So does that mean that I can send you some of my clothes on my behalf? You'll sell that and then pay me a bit of money.
Exactly. It's kind of like an in-person Vinted, but you don't have to worry about doing any of the selling. We do all of that for you.
Thanks, Annie. That is such amazing work. You're not just keeping clothes circulating for longer and being used for longer, but you're also using that as a platform to support charities and the causes that they are working towards. Amazing work. Yayra, could you share about the revival and your core mission and what you do through this business?
Great, perfect. Yeah, definitely. I'm always happy to share. We're a community-based, community-led initiative based here in Ghana, and what we're trying to do is to tackle the global textile waste crisis by diverting textile waste that leaves Ghana and goes to leaves our the market and goes to pollute our environment, mostly beaches and the land. Now, we don't have the resources or the right way to deal with clothing. So then, what people here think is, if we throw it in the trash, if we throw it somewhere else, if it's then problem solved, which literally out of sight, out of mind. Just like the way in other parts of the world, the global north sends these things to Ghana, sends their trash to Ghana, and literally not having them in their sight. So with Europe, it's out of sight, out of mind. But then this is where the problem starts with us. So we're literally dealing with the waste we didn't create. So out of frustration and pain, and the fact that we were encountering the same problem that so many people were encountering in the community here in Kantamanto, we decided to start a revival which is transforming this textile waste into valuable product through upcycling and also through upcycling education, innovation, and through storytelling. Now, we are headquartered in Kantamanto Market, which is the largest secondhand market in the world. It's in the heart of West Africa's secondhand economy. Now, the revival, what we do is we empower the local youth, we empower women, and also the informal workers to build skills, generate income, and also to create a circular fashion ecosystem that champions environmental justice and also cultural preservation, because upcycling repair has been a thing with us already. It's in our DNA. We've been sustainable for centuries. So then it's an existing skill that we are adapting and improving and using in trying to make things better in terms of circularity. So, and we also want to push for systematic change in the fashion industry from a global scope of things.
Thanks, Yara. Again, such impactful, inspiring, and powerful work. Before we go deeper into the business itself, we're going to get to know you a little bit. So, textiles, I believe, are really powerful and they have the ability to tell stories, fulfill our senses and our soul. Could you tell me about a piece of garment or textiles, fabric that you have that you hold on to because it's got real sort of deep connection to it? There's some special memories attached to it. You might never use it again. It might not be functional. You might not fit into it, but you still hold on to it. Is there a story you could share with us?
There is, and I can only think of the most embarrassing one. So
Go
I
on.
will go for it. I am actually quite sentimental generally when it comes to clothes. So there are a few things in my wardrobe that jump out to me and I will probably never part with. But I actually still have a pair of pajamas from when I was 10, which are pink with love hearts all over them. And I loved them so much and wore them until I was about 18. And
Oh
then
my gosh.
was browsing the rails of TK Maxx one day and found the same pair in a bigger size. And so I now have the smaller ones and the bigger ones. I don't know why I'm keeping on to the age 10
I
Gap Heart
love that.
pajamas, but I am.
That is a great story. That's a brilliant one. It's quite incredible that you managed to find the same pajamas again after so many years. I mean, that's mental. And it just goes to show that fashion trends tend to circle back. Yara, would you have a story to share with us?
Yeah, I think I have a couple, but then there's a top one. There's number one that I always I would like to speak about, which is I call it the iconic cloth. It's from my great grandfather, which I inherited it through, and it's I think it's about 100 year plus um, cloth, which has been passed on to, I mean, how many generations? Four generations or five generations? And what I like about it is that the more that fabric age, the more beautiful it becomes. It for me it serves as a source of inspiration to me, because one, anytime I look at that piece, I feel the presence of my great grandfather, but also gives me that inspiration on shapes, on pattern, because it's like a square. It has different. It's like a geometric pattern on it. Also, you can feel the craftsmanship in it because it was handmade over a period of time. So you can feel the beauty and the craftsmanship in it. And yeah, and I've placed it in a very strategic place in my office, in at home office, where anytime I see it, I get inspired. And yeah, and then there's this pants as well that I love. I've had that pants for like 9 or 10 years. It's my I call it my good luck trousers, because that is the trousers I wear to most of the big meetings that I go. Signed contracts in those trousers. When I'm speaking on big platforms, I wear those trousers as well. And that trousers, I feel, is my buddy. It's been with me since from day one, and I really cherish it.
Oh, amazing. I'd love to see pictures of these two. Maybe you can send those over to me. And this is it. Textiles have that power to connect with us in a way that it's hard sometimes for us to explain why. Now coming back to you, Annie, could you tell us a little more about your work and especially the impact that Round Retail has had on communities, charities, and people around you?
Yeah, so our work is split into kind of two main categories. So we have our environmental impact and then we also have our social impact. And those two things are really easy for us to measure. We do not have one set cause in our social impact work that we do. We work with different organizations like the Revival who are already have the infrastructure in place to create change. So we support them through financial fundraising. So they receive a percentage of our sales. They also, when we work with charities more locally that are often in the areas in which the shop sits, they have a storefront and they have an opportunity to be able to speak to customers and educate them on the work that they're doing. And then we also try and hold the value of clothes before they reach end of life, and we try and keep them in the ecosystem for longer. So one of the main focuses around retail is to focus on kind of good quality premium clothing that has value attached to it and has a better chance of keeping its value in the market. So we price things higher than, say, an online resale website might price something or an individual might price something. There's reasons for that. People can try it on in store, they can share it with their friends, they can make sure that their purchase is something that they're going to wear for a really long time. I think there's a lot of solutions in this space online, and actually the gap that I found was finding a solution in store and giving people an alternative on the high street to the shops that exist, the H&Ms, the Zaras, that are essentially overproducing clothes, and we're inundated with that textile now.
I'm glad you mentioned the quality of the textiles. Yaira, I was wondering what your observation was from the secondhand clothing market over the last few years. Have you seen a change in the quality of the secondhand clothes that you're getting? I mean, I hear numbers about charity shops really only being able to sell 10% of what they receive. Sometimes it's just really worn out or torn or whatever. Sometimes just really bad quality because the first time a product was manufactured, it wasn't manufactured with great quality fibers and yarns in the first place. They don't really survive for very long. So, Yara, have you seen a change in the quality of clothing that is coming to you? And is it becoming harder to find textiles that you can upcycle that will last longer?
There's been change. There's been consistent change in the quality. Unfortunately, it's from on the downside. It's not for better, but it's for the worse. The items and the quality, the level of quality of the items that are coming are terrible, and also the scale in terms of the quantity, it's also getting worse. Like now with rampant growth of fast fashion, and even now we have ultra fast fashion, it's just been really items that are in really bad condition that literally cannot be used for anything. And also now it's like all kinds of things just coming where previously some of the things are quite curated in a way that at least you can, it's decent and respectful. But now anything comes which is very disrespectful, like in terms of even underwears, heavily stained underwears, clothes, panties, braziers, all these things just come in anyhow, and we literally don't do anything with it. Like winter clothes, winter clothes, we don't need them in Ghana. And this second-hand trade has been existing for 5 decades plus. So then, why do winter clothes keep coming to Ghana when we don't need it? It's not functional in any way here. It never gets cold. The coldest it could get for us is 26, 27 degrees. And for that, you don't need winter warm clothes, puffer jackets, and all of that. So then these things keep coming with the idea that anything can be sent to us here, and they keep coming in bigger numbers. But also, there's been more people involved in there. Like there's also the Chinese coming in a lot. There's also people from other parts of the world bringing in stuff, bringing in clothes. So then it's becoming overwhelming. There's a lot of clothes, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of clothes, but then the quality is not reflecting in the business aspect of it. So business model of the used clothing market is not as viable comparing to the volume. So there's so much coming, but there's very little that is being sold. So then that is where we come in and look at the items that are unsellable. So for example, winter clothes, we try to use design, community-led design to make these winter clothes useful here because we cannot return them. Our leaders are ready to step up on their feet and say, we're not taking these things anymore and we're going to return them. No. So then it's going to be here. I cannot also just look at it and being thrown or being sent to the landfill. So then we turn winter stuff into items that we could use here, where these stuff are not functional in its original state, but then through design, we make it into items we can use here. So one typical example is puffer jackets are turned into backpacks, into bags. That can be used here. They also turn into laptop sleeves. That could be used here. So it's been a very, I'd say, disrespectful considering the trend, the way things are turning out with the volumes and the items that are sent to us here in Ghana. Traders, everybody here is complaining that the items are not good. And mind you, we pay for everything. Nothing comes here for free. Whether unsellable, sellable. When I mentioned about like the braziers panties that are stained and dirty, it's not free. We pay for every single piece of clothing that gets to Ghana. Whether it's sellable, it's unsellable, we pay for it.
The secondhand market has to pay for this.
The retailer has to pay for it. So when the importers bring it in, and then the retailers, or the traders here in Kantamanto, have to go and buy it. And they buy it in the bills. And you don't know what's in it. So you buy bulk and you cannot return when you open it and you have unsellable items. It's not returnable. So far as it leaves the warehouse, gets to your store, whatever happens is your own problem. Nobody else cares. If you make losses, it's your own problem. Nobody cares about you or what items that you got, whether whether you are in debt or not in debt. About 30% of traders here are in debt, are owing, have massive deficit in their margins to be able to sustain their business. But the thing is, you might be asking or you might be wondering, why are people still in this business if it's not reliable, sustainable, consistent in terms of viability? It's because This business has been existing for decades, and people and a lot of people currently here is like a second or third generation that have inherited it. So they want to hold family business. They don't want to be the one to close down family business. They'll be blamed that, oh, our dad left something for us and you closed it down because you were not able to manage. So some people are still in this because of that. And the second is that there are no options. There are no jobs here. So then when you stop selling secondhand clothes in the market, there's no option. There's nowhere else for you to go.
Thank you for shedding light on that situation, Yayra. That was quite difficult to hear, but it is the truth on the ground. And we need people here to understand that this is what is happening to their clothes when they get rid of it, and the injustice of the system that we have created. Coming back to you, Annie, how are you managing the quality of products that you're getting? What's the quality control that you go through?
So we have a list of brands that we say brands we love, brands that we know hold their value on the resale market more than others, and we try and focus on those. Our model is part consignment, so people don't get a payout if their item sells for less than a certain amount. So if it's a £5 payout, they wouldn't receive anything. We've been quite lucky in the time that we've been going, and we've not had anything in too poor a condition. Anything we have had, we've been able to rework in our own rework collections and put back into the shops to sell. Our sell-through rate's been about 98%, which in retail is really, really high and something I'm really proud of. And it feeds into the ethos of keeping everything going longer and being responsible and being a responsible retailer for the clothes that we do get. And I think a lot of the issues lie with the lack of responsibility, especially for the big retailers. They do not have any onus on them to be responsible for their products once they've sold them on. And actually that's causing a lot of problems further down the stream.
Absolutely. Yayra, could you tell us a bit more about the charity and what you're raising money for? How will that money be used?
So I mean, we have created a series of funding projects here, and one of them is there was a recent fire on January 2nd. There was a fire that gutted 75% of the market, and that is going to support our relief efforts. We since January 2nd, we've been trying to raise funds to be able to help with the relief efforts. So we mobilize funds to rebuild the market, and as we speak, about 90% of the market is being rebuilt. People are back to work, but then there's still a lot of people that need to come back to work. It was a very emotionally traumatizing moment for some people. So some people are still in that trauma and don't even want to come back to work. They've given up and lost hope. So we're looking at restoring hope in such people. And we've done our ground assessments and identified some of these people who most of them are old, 65 years plus. So we have partners who give mental health, who are psychologists that were able to give them that mental support. And then we're also going to help them rebuild their stores and then also support them to get capital to restart their business. We also replaced over 73 sewing machines. Out of the machines that were burnt, we replaced it to the people that are in the tailoring sections and stuff. We've also done a lot of work with providing food, shelter, health screenings, supporting families and stuff. We also support education for some of the traders. And we're also doing an incubator program where we're training women in vulnerable and marginal groups in the market, where we're giving them the skill, training them on upcycling and other skills that we need in our space. And then we train them and then we employ them. So these are there are various projects that we're doing also in the educational space. We're developing online courses. We're working with kids between the ages of 9 and 15, where we're training them on activities on upcycling and other things. These are projects that we're consistently on working on consistently. So then the proceeds from this charity is going to go into supporting some of these projects, enable us to do more and have more impact to support the community here so we all grow. Because the goal is for us, all of us to grow and for all of us to win, for all of us to have a good life and to make Kantamanto a decent working space where everybody is safe, everybody is making a decent money, and the business is consistently viable. So also creating a safe space for people to express their creativity, to share, and also to just feel like, yeah, I'm part of the community. So
Absolutely. The fire was just devastating news. And if I understand correctly, about 60% of the market was burned down. Has there been any brands or companies who've stepped up and participated in the rebuilding, or have brands kind of distanced themselves? Because I asked this because I don't know if you all remember in 2013 in Bangladesh, the Rana Plaza garment factory collapsed and over 1,000 people died and over 2,000 people were injured. And after that, a lot of brands stepped up because the brands were directly connected to these factories. So they had to own up to it in a way. And they put in new regulations, new laws for safety measures in the factories. This prompted the, I guess, the formation of the Accord on fire and building safety in Bangladesh. It's a legally binding agreement, I guess, between the brands, retailers, and trade unions to ensure the safety of the workers there. So a lot has changed. Sadly, it had to there had to be a really terrible incident for things to change, but it did bring about change. Are you seeing any conversations and change after this devastating fire in Accra at the market?
well, I mean, there are some brands reached out to support. So then, yeah, I would say some brands are taking the responsibility. Some fashion brands took up responsibility to give some support. But then, in general, we felt the neglect of the fashion industry, especially from the big players, because with such a devastating occurrence, and for such a place like Kantamanto Market, that is the only place, as far as I know, that fosters practical circularity at scale. It's a place that keeps all these brands' clothes in circularity. It's a place that needs to be taken care of. It's a place that needs to be celebrated. So, in a situation of this disaster of this level, this is when brands should show responsibility and support massively. But it didn't happen that way. All the big brands literally went mute, and after it took a while before some of these few brands came in to say, "Oh, we want to help," and even that, the extent of help is not as much as it should be. So then that brings to the whole idea of how these big brands are only focused on their profit and don't care about the other thing that happens. And Kantamanto, the fire is a clear example of how the fashion industry, the big players in the fashion industry, see the different parts of the ecosystem. That the less they don't care about post consumer, they don't care about the post consumer aspect of it. Hence, the neglect for of content, and that is very sad situation for us to find ourselves. But what we have, if we have something bigger than that, what we have here is unity and resilience, and that is what we've been able to rely on to restore hope and rebuild the market.
And that is why this fundraising effort is so important. And it's great that you are able to collaborate with Annie and Round Retail to do this. Why are such collaborations important, Yayra? To start with you, and then I'll come back to you, Annie. How important are these collaborations with organizations in the global north to help your work and efforts in Kantamanto? And how can you build successful collaborations?
If you think about the problem, it's a global problem. Everybody is involved. If you wear clothes, if you deal in clothes, you would go. I don't think anybody walks around naked. So the fact that you wear clothes, you are part of the problem and you are part of the solution. So then, hence, it's a global problem, needs global collaboration. We cannot succeed on our own. It's basically collaborating from a global approach. So then it's very, very, very essential for the global north and the south to collaborate because the problem starts from the north and ends in the south. So the solution should be between the north and the south. It's as simple as that. The only way that the most successful ways to have a successful collaboration is shared values. I think if we both have shared values and shared mission, which is mutual to both parties, I think that is the basis or the fuel that could take the collaboration from a talking stage to an actual practical or accomplishment stage. So then having to connect with the right people that have shared vision, shared values, and also understanding how there could be fairness and justice within collaborations, because there could be collaborations that is not fair, that is not just, that is capitalist, which I mean, we live in a capitalist era where even with the secondhand situation right now, where anything is dumped in Ghana, but we don't have a say, we don't have anything to say about it, and some collaborations can go that way too, between the north and the south. So, and I mean, you could say that trading between north and south is a collaboration, but then it's not a just collaboration. So for collaboration to be successful, it needs to have that shared value, it needs to be just, and it needs to be fair.
Absolutely. Which is why, Annie, I think it's great that you're able to give the Revival and Yayra a platform to talk about incident that's happened. We don't, in the West, don't even realize there's a fire which is caused by us and our waste. We might hear it on the news for a day and then that's it. And I think it's such a great opportunity to educate the everyday consumer about the problem of textile waste. Can you tell us a bit more about what people can expect at the festival and how you actually promote and support charities that you're highlighting?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I actually think, just on the last point, there's such a lack of transparency in the UK and Europe and the global north where our clothes come from and then where they go. And I think there's a lot of pressure now on legislating that further. And I hope to see more of that in the space, because it is really difficult and there are really muddy solutions out there. And actually, there are very few kind of transparent solutions that people can fully trust. We hear a lot of greenwashing, a lot of misinformation in the space. And actually, I think by having the message clearer from the offset and educating people, then you know what you're working with, and getting clarity in the first instance from the production of clothes is really important. And in terms of the festival, what people can expect, so they can expect our usual curated edit of clothes. They can expect a positive in-person shopping experience that will do good, as Siora has very eloquently said already, what they'll be able to do with the money that we are able to raise. We also have a workshop on the Thursday, which we have 2 time slots for. One's at 12, one's at 2, and it's a rebuild, reimagine workshop. So we will be facilitating that. You're able to get a free ticket online, bring along something that you're no longer wearing, or it might have a small imperfection that needs a mend, and we can reimagine it during the workshop. And as Yara has already described, the funds raised will be going to rebuild the Kantamanto market. So we're really looking forward to seeing as many people there as possible.
Another one for you, Annie. Is it possible to build and support new business models like these where you sort of resale pre-loved clothing, but you're also splitting that amongst 3 parties basically? It definitely has sustainable impact, but financial growth, is that possible with business models like these? Because at the end of the day, it's also a business, and are you able to build it and grow it as a financially viable business?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have ambitions to do that. It's by no means easy. Putting kind of social impact at the heart of your business could be seen to stifle growth. However, there is support out there, bolster your income to be able to make it possible to do that. And actually, you can be given a little and create a lot. And I think that's the beauty of a smaller organization, is being able to have really clear and impactful change. There are so many kind of solutions in the market at the moment in the fashion space in terms of resale and rental and redistributing and repair. I think where we need to see more support is in the speed in which we're acting. There are these solutions already, but it's actually getting them to a scale that's going to make a difference and actually create impact. Doing that meaningfully is an added level of complication, but I do think there's opportunity there. Equally, on the kind of scale of it point, there's a lot of negative connotations with secondhand or repair, and it's really hard to share the message in a positive way that is going to engage people and not switch them off to it and continue the habits of consumption that have unfortunately led us to this situation. So I think one thing we're really focused on doing is trying to be a bit more positive in our messaging and more encouraging in our messaging, and showing and highlighting what the solutions are and what we're doing, and also what our counterparts in the same industry are doing.
And the last one, I guess, from me is looking ahead. What are your biggest hopes or goals for the future of sustainable fashion and waste reduction? And if there's a message that you have for the everyday consumer, what would that be? Annie?
For me, it would be my message would be to vote with your money. We all in this life work really hard for the money that we get, and you have power with you have purchasing power, and you have power with that money. So I would love to see people backing the businesses and backing the people that are really change makers and are really trying to do something different to the status quo. And my hope for the future would be to see the secondhand stigma coming down, and the walls and the barriers to entry coming down. And I feel really passionately about the value of secondhand fashion in a lot of different ways, but I am often faced with a lot of stigma still, even in the circles that I find myself in. And I would love to see that shift, and see the value of these garments that have been made somewhere in the world by somebody's hands being valued from the off and not being a race to the bottom.
Yayra, any message from you?
I mean, Anna, very well said. I just want to add just a bit to it. Is my dream is to see that unity in consciousness of how we consume. I to see that shift in consumption behavior with more consciousness and responsibility attached to it, where we all make that sacrifice of buying because we are in a system where what validates you as a cool person is the amount of stuff that you buy or the trends that you follow, which we're so used to. It is a lifestyle that we live in. So if we are able to, I want to see, like, the goal is to see a world where we've sacrificed that irresponsible lifestyle of ours, of and then shifting that to more responsible and conscious lifestyle. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yayra and Annie. I think this is, like you said, this shared values here between the two companies, and it's amazing to see that partnership, supporting each other, and also shedding light on such an important topic that every consumer should know about, and about what happens to their clothing after they've used it and chucked it in the bin. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm really really excited about popping by to the pop-up store at the Fashion District Festival. And I really hope we can raise a great amount of awareness, but also actual funds to be able to support the incredible work that Yayra and his team are doing, at the market and for the larger community as well. This was such an eye-opening episode for me, and I feel we've touched only the tip of the iceberg. The scale of textile waste is hard for us to really get our heads around. As Yayra said, out of sight, out of mind. How do we begin to understand the enormity of the mess we have created? And how do we educate people and drive behavior change? After listening to this episode, my hope is that the next time you decide to buy a dress or a shirt or a top, that you will pause and ask yourself if you really need one more of these items. I would highly recommend that you all attend the wonderful activities that are hosted this week at the Fashion District Festival in London. And don't forget to stop by Around Retail to support Yayra's work in restoring Kantamanto Market, which is a lifeline for the community there and a centre for circularity that should be celebrated. You can also directly support Yayra's fundraising efforts by donating on their website. So please check the links below for this, as well as details of Fashion District Festival events. Thank you again for joining me today. Stay tuned for more episodes, and don't forget to subscribe for more conversations at the intersection of textiles, emerging technology, craft, and sustainability. Until next time, I'm Millie Tharakin, reminding you that there's no such thing as ordinary cloth. every thread has a story to tell.